Practice 21, happy Monday. Hey, we're a few weeks into our practice for the month of March, which is the practice of generosity. And I wanted to share a few things with you this morning about where generosity flows out of. And I want us to think about a verse this morning. This is Matthew chapter 16, verse 24. And Jesus says, "Whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take up the cross and follow me." And our practice, like we said, for the month of March, to help us to get rooted and grounded in our identity in Christ and God's love for us, is the practice of generosity. And generosity, I don't know if you think about this or not, generosity is a picture of who God is. Generosity is a picture of who God is. It's a picture of how God gave us Jesus and how Jesus gives us life and how the Spirit of God gives us fruit and how the Spirit gives us gifts. At God's core, God is a giver. And Jesus says that if we're going to follow him, we have to deny ourselves and carry the cross. And from that's where we get this new word that we're using all through this month, and it's this word cruciformity. And cruciformity is basically the idea that we are changed into the likeness of Jesus as we carry the cross. And the cross is a means of letting go. The cross is a way to open up our hands. Follow me, carry your cross. Carrying the cross is dying in 1,000 different ways. Carrying the cross is the pathway to generosity. But generosity flows out of seeing that God has been generous to us, to you today. Can you, this Monday morning or whenever you watch this, can you see today that God has given himself for you? Can you see today how God has been generous to you? See, the way of the cross is letting go. Letting go of our lives, letting go of the idea that we belong to ourselves. Listen, as followers of Jesus, we don't belong to ourselves anymore. And you might hear this and think, Mark, listen, this idea of letting go, I don't want to do that. But here's the reality. The reality is that one day we will let go of everything. And if we've learned anything in this past year, it's how little we are in control of, how little we're actually holding on to. One day, this life is going to end, and we will let go of everything except for God and his love for us. See, the illusion is that we're holding on. The illusion that we also easily believe is that we're in control. The illusion is that we're in control, that we are holding on to our lives, to our time, to our resources. And the world that we live in is just going to conform us into that image, into that idea. It's going to disciple us into this idea that we are the master of our own fates, that we control our destiny. And then out of nowhere, a global pandemic comes along to show all of us that we are not in control. We are not the master of our own fates. Actually, we're not holding on to much at all. And so today, what are you trying to hold on to that you are actually losing? What are you trying to hold on to that you are actually losing? Maybe it's your reputation. Maybe it's your resources and the stuff that you've bought. Maybe it's the things that you're saving because you think in saving those things will take care of you and those things will keep you safe. And listen, Proverbs talks about the act and the idea of saving, but let's not fall into the world's thinking. Let's not fall into the world's ways that tell us we are what we have and we are what we save, right? That we are in control. No, generosity starts with seeing that God has been radically generous to us and that carrying the cross is not punishment. But listen, carrying the cross is an invitation to live. It's more blessed to give than to receive. Jesus says that we find our lives by losing our lives, by giving it up, by letting go. And so the act of generosity flows out of the truth that we are not our own, that we are the sons and daughters of God, and that nothing can take the love of God from us, so we are free to live generous lives. So let me ask you a few questions as we wrap up. I would love to hear your responses to these in the comments. I would love to hear what you thought of these, think about these, and just get a conversation going in the comments in our group here on Facebook and YouTube. Today, can you see how God has been generous to you? Can you see today that God has given himself for you? And you might want to take just a minute or two and journal down, maybe open up the notes app on your phone or some other app, or actually physically pull out a journal, grab a pencil or a pen, and write down ways that God's been good to you. Write down ways that God has been generous to you. Generosity flows out of seeing that God's been generous to us. Generosity is a picture of who God is. Can you see today how God's given himself for you, has been generous to you? And then finally, what are you trying to hold on to that you are actually losing? What are you trying to hold on to that you are actually losing? What are you trying to get rooted and grounded in that one day you will not have anymore? That you will lose that because you will lose everything. We will lose every single thing except for the love of God for us and who we are in Christ. And so, how is Jesus calling you today to carry the cross, let go, and just take a step into the reality that as the sons and daughters of God, we're free, and we're free to live generous lives because we have a generous God? Summit, have a great day. Practice 21. Let me know what you think in the comments. Bye, guys.